See, my friends, today I'm going to need a bigger map here because while you were sleeping, the United States hit dozens of Revolutionary Guard targets in 12 different locations inside Iran. These images here are from today, folks, not from yesterday. In a single night, and according to an American source, this wave was almost twice as strong as the previous ones. Iran woke up and responded in two directions as well. A salvo of ballistic missiles against Jordan. And there they say they hit F-35 fighter jets also from the United States. And in Kuwait, a strike that hit, pay attention, the building of a Chinese company, folks, from China. And why is this important? It matters a lot. I'll answer you in a moment, and the answer is bigger than it seems. And there's more. Egypt officially confirmed what we brought up yesterday. Remember that from yesterday, with all the caveats? The fire on the two gas ships at the port of Damietta was caused by a drone or two drones. The conflict has literally, truly reached the Mediterranean. And about this map that keeps growing, there's a phrase said by a man who sat in the decision-making room during Trump's first term, a phrase that sums up the size of America's problem now against Iran. I'll save this for the end of the live as it changes how you see everything before. But first, I need to say something. My friends, without you realizing it, the world is moving toward a large-scale conflict. And right now, no one can stop this situation. No one. Live from Israel, straight from where everything is happening. Stay with me until the end of this live. And before I forget to ask you, go ahead and leave your like here, your thumbs up right now, because later you might end up forgetting to do it. Local time, 2:23 a.m. Here in Israel, live from Israel. Let's start with the early morning. US Central Command announced in an official statement a heavy wave against the Revolutionary Guard, but it started at around 2:30 a.m. Israel time, local Middle East time. And this time it wasn't just one location, there were three regions at the same time: the southwest of Iran on the border with Iraq, right near the Iraqi border, the province of Bushehr where that civilian nuclear reactor is located, there on the Gulf Coast, and the region of the Strait of Hormuz, including Bandar Abbas and Kersh Island. Okay? 12 locations in total, in a single night. And what was hit, according to the American statement? Command centers, missile and drone facilities, coastal surveillance points, and naval capabilities. A quick 30-second lesson here, just for those who just dropped into this video. Coastal surveillance, my friend, is the radar that spots ships passing through the strait, and that's why it was hit. Naval capability refers to those small boats, not those big ships that don't exist anymore. Small boats and drones that can reach that ship over there in the strait. And in practice, the Americans went after the eyes and arms that Iran uses against the traffic there in Hormuz. Now pay close attention. All of that which was destroyed before, they still haven't rebuilt. So more things were destroyed and it takes much longer to build that back. And that measure I gave you at the beginning, of almost twice as strong, it came from an American source cited by the Arab press. And now the version from the other side, from the Iranian side, because here we always tell both sides. The official Iranian agency reported 3 dead and 2 injured on Kersh Island, right there in the Strait of Hormuz. They mention a residential area being hit. This is the regime's version, and I'm bringing it to you just as it was published. Honestly, I have no way to independently verify if this was really hit. What happened that night right there at that point in Kersh? I saw an image of a place that looks residential. It seems residential to me in the Kesh region, Kersh. I saw an image, I can't share it here because there are copyright issues with the person who took that photo there in the Kersh Island region. Now pay attention, what caused this whole wave? For those who don't know, guys, the Central Command itself responded very clearly that it was a response to what they called Iran's surprise attack against American positions in Jordan the day before yesterday. If you watched yesterday's live, you know what we're talking about. Trump also discussed this in a Fox interview yesterday. And here I'm going to tone it down for you because the president used a swear word, which I absolutely can't repeat on this channel. He said we're going to smash them, okay? This is the polite version, softening what he said. And in the same interview, he also sent a message to Xi Jinping. He said he would be very disappointed with Xi Jinping if China supplied weapons to Iran. And we'll come back to that in a bit, guys, because just a few hours later, Iran itself went and made their relationship even more complicated. But let's go in order here, because the Iranian response came in 2 stages. The first was the attack on Jordan. That was already this morning. This morning, a salvo of missiles was launched from Iran toward the base that houses American forces in the country, the same base that was targeted the day before yesterday. Remember that? The Jordanian army officially confirmed it. The kingdom's air defense intercepted 5 missiles and thwarted the attack. Okay? Just to make one thing clear here. This is what the Jordanian army is saying, but the Revolutionary Guard has also just issued a statement. Of course, whenever they declare something, in the end, it's not true. But I'll read it to you. I'll read it to you. The Guardians, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, states, in this morning's Iranian attack on the airbase in Jordan, during the airstrike on that airbase in Jordan, 3 F-35 aircraft were destroyed and 3 others were damaged. And besides that, a number of enemy soldiers and officers were killed and wounded. Well, take it with a grain of salt, as always. But I'm sharing this because some people say you don't bring what Iran said. Here it is, folks. It's recorded. They said exactly that. And there won't be any confirmation because this didn't happen. It's always like that. At least it's always like that. There's never any confirmation from the American side. And if it does come, it takes 2 or 3 days, if anything comes at all. When it comes to American casualties, it usually doesn't take long for that kind of news to come out. This is the second time this week that Jordan, an Arab country, we need to make that very clear. Shiite, with only about 70% of the population there, Palestinians too. As Israel's neighbor, it gets caught in the crossfire of this conflict. The dispute between Iran and the United States is with the United States, but the consequences are falling on the neighbors, as always. That was the first front. The second is the most important of all, Kuwait. It's no surprise to anyone here that Kuwait was hit, right? But on the same morning, Iran struck a building in the north of the country. This information comes from the Kuwaiti army. The structure was severely damaged and a worker in that building lost his life. And now, the answer to that question from the beginning of the live stream. The building belongs, my friends, to a Chinese company. And China is the biggest buyer of Iranian oil. It's the economic lifeline of the Ayatollah's regime. And it's the same country that Trump just warned not to arm Tehran because he believes they wouldn't be arming Tehran, and Iran, trying to target American interests in the Gulf, struck a Chinese-owned building and killed a worker. Now I'm going to tell you the truth. We know that Iran possesses precision. Just like it sent a missile that landed exactly at the base in Jordan, so it aimed directly at this Chinese-owned building. That's what I believe. This was not random. This was not a miscalculation at all. It hit a building belonging to China, period. If there is a phone call that Tehran received today, it's probably ringing right now, guys, coming from Beijing. And those who follow the channel know my broader take on this dispute. In the end, we know it's not about uranium. It's not about Hormuz. It's about China. This whole war here. And today, the regime handed over for free on a silver platter, a reason for its most important partner to get very upset. And it's not the first time, guys. It's not the first time this has happened. And while this embarrassment with Beijing is happening behind the scenes and is happening right now, on stage, the Revolutionary Guard stepped up. It published 2 statements in a row. The first one is shorter. They said the following: the aggressor will be punished today. Who are the aggressors? The United States and its allies. The second point is longer and deserves attention, as it contains concrete information amid the threat. They confirmed it last night. 2 oil tankers tried to leave through a route that Iran did not authorize. That route from Oman down in the south of the strait. One of them caught fire in the middle of the attempt. The statement also insinuates that American planes were in the area, but it didn't present any evidence. They even insinuated that the Americans might have fired at these oil tankers. Okay? Just an insinuation there, reading between the lines. But there's no way to prove that. We know the Iranians attacked the oil tankers, and the 2 ships were forced to turn back. They didn't get through. And then they ended with the usual message. They wrote the following: the Strait of Hormuz is our territory. Our naval forces control it efficiently, and it won't open as long as there are American provocations and threats. Again, that same message as always, and they kept going. Countries involved in helping the aggressor will receive a severe response if they don't change their behavior. Even today, right? According to them. Let's turn to the sea. Pay attention. This is a direct message to Jordan, to Kuwait, to Bahrain, to Saudi Arabia, and maybe to Israel as well. But to everyone who opened airspace or bases for the Americans. And before the next segment, here's something really quick, guys. If you're not subscribed to the channel yet, and I know you're not subscribed, because 50% of the people who watch my videos aren't subscribed to the channel. I know my video shows up for you, but that doesn't mean you're subscribed. So check your subscription. If you're not subscribed, subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss any updates. This concerns you too, even if you're on the other side of the world, because this story changes by the hour, and this is where you find out first. And now let's go back 24 hours, because the most important news of the day didn't come from the Gulf, it came from the Mediterranean. You remember, right, folks? Yesterday, I told you about the two gas ships catching fire at the port of Damietta in Egypt. Does anyone remember that? I presented this as a suspicion. I showed you both statements, two statements that came out at the same time, not as a confirmed fact, but a suspicion is a suspicion, right, folks? A suspicion based on something. Because the Egyptian Ministry of Petroleum was still sorting out its version of events about this drone. Will they release it? Won't they release it? And today the suspicion became confirmation. The Egyptian government cabinet confirmed in an official statement, the preliminary investigation concluded that the fire was caused by a drone. The same government, just to remind you, that denied it yesterday, is confirming it today. That's why we use a filter here, okay? The filter, when the information isn't confirmed, I say it's not. And when it is, I come here and tell you exactly what was confirmed. And today, it's confirmed. So let's see, what's confirmed now? A drone hit a gas storage ship owned by an American company. The fire spread to a second ship. The crews were evacuated and the fire was miraculously brought under control. Actually, because if that had exploded, there would have been many, maybe even hundreds of deaths in that area. The two vessels were taken out of the port. And why is this port so important? This is Damietta. Let me show you the map to give you some context. Let me put up the map of Damietta. Let's switch to a map here, because without the map, it's no use, right? Take a look at the map. This is the port, Damietta port. It's really close to the entrance of the Suez Canal, okay? The ship was somewhere around here. We know look at what's here. Gas, there's a lot of things here related to energy, okay? In this port. And it was probably stopped, docked at one of these points here. There's no picture of a ship to use as an example. But what matters is its location. Take a good look, guys. And why is it important, right? Damietta is one of the two gas terminals in Egypt. And today it operates as an import terminal. Most of the time. It receives gas that comes from outside to keep the lights on inside Egypt itself. And it's on the Mediterranean, guys. On the Mediterranean. Close to the Suez Canal here. Look at the Suez Canal right here. Very close to the Suez Canal. And until yesterday, the day before yesterday, this conflict had a specific location, right? This one, look at this spot here, guys. Look where Iran is. Look where Iraq is. Look where the Suez Canal is. Look at the distance from everything here. So you can understand what has changed, okay? What has changed now. The Gulf was the target here. Look, up here was the Gulf. The Red Sea on this side here. In this region here, close to Yemen, the bases all over this region here were hit. The American bases in Kuwait, in Bahrain, in Qatar, right? And now there's a second sea. We're talking up here, guys, about the Mediterranean Sea. And who claimed responsibility for this? For now, no one. Except for that group that hinted it might have been them. Linked to Hezbollah. No one really claimed responsibility. Cairo didn't point to anyone. But the American press heard from two Iranian sources. That might help explain that silence. According to these sources, the attack in Damietta was a deliberate message, a demonstration that if there's a bigger escalation than this now, Iran is capable of disrupting shipping routes all over the world, not just the Gulf routes. The same sources didn't say whether it was Iran itself or Iran's armed groups. And here's where the analysis comes in, right, folks? The specialized maritime analysis that I bring to you here as an interpretation, not as a fact. To reach Damietta, there are three candidates with the range to do it. First, there's Hezbollah, which is here. Look, Hezbollah is here in Lebanon, right? Relatively close. The pro-Iraq militias. They can launch from anywhere in Iraq and reach it as well. Or the Houthis from Yemen, guys. From Yemen, over 2,000 kilometers away. Look at this. Look at the distance from Yemen to Damietta. So, and the relatively small damage to these two ships suggests a small warhead. And why is that important? Let me explain why. So you can understand next time, even analyze the explosion and the damage it caused, so you can understand why it was so small or why it was so big. A drone carries two things, very important things, fuel and explosives. The farther it needs to fly, the more fuel it needs to carry. Do you agree with me? It needs to fly for a long time. It doesn't run on batteries, it runs on fuel. And more fuel means less space for explosives. So of course, right? Look at that. Small damage usually means a very long trip. And who's the farthest from Damietta on this list here? The Houthis. That's why the analysis points to them as the most likely culprits. Again, this is just an assessment of the size of the explosion, okay? Of the damage that happened there. It's not confirmation. But the strategic significance doesn't depend on who pushed the button. For the first time in this conflict, that's what's important. An energy target was hit on the Mediterranean side of Egypt. And now, let's leave the sea and come with me to the United States. Because the missiles, while the missiles were flying, Prime Minister Netanyahu gave an interview. Meanwhile, let's show footage from early yesterday morning. The images from early in the morning and even today. in the morning. While the missiles were flying, Prime Minister Netanyahu gave an interview to the American network ABC, and he faced, without dodging, the three most uncomfortable questions of the moment. The first one: who's in charge of the relationship, you or Trump? Look at the answer he gave. In the United States, they usually say that Trump does everything I tell him to do. And in Israel, and it's true, they usually say that I do everything he tells me to do. The truth is that we are partners, we are allies. He's the senior partner and I'm the junior partner. After all, we're talking about the United States of America, and that's something you don't forget. But I am the Prime Minister of Israel, and when I need to defend the interests and security of my country, I do it. End quote. Spot on answer, right, folks? Excellent answer. Now comes the second and toughest interview question. The journalist recalled that Vice President Vance made a serious remark on a podcast, which I also mentioned earlier, that sectors of the Israeli government were working to prolong the conflict and influencing American public opinion. And she put this right on the table, right in Netanyahu's face. How do you respond to that? Netanyahu answered like this, open quote, "That is simply not true. I had a very good conversation with the vice president this morning with Vance, and we cleared up the matter. Individuals in our system may have their own opinions, but the government's policy is defined by me, and that is not our policy." In short, any member of parliament can say something, right? Any member of parliament can criticize, and that's probably what Vance was referring to. And Netanyahu made it very clear that this does not represent the government's policy, okay? It represents the opinion of one or another who said something. And third, they asked him if there is a diplomatic way out with Iran. And here Netanyahu laid out the whole chessboard, okay? He said that Trump has three options: reach an agreement, maintain that naval blockade, or military action. And any path that ends Iran's nuclear program works for Israel because that's the common goal. And when they asked if he believes in the diplomatic route, he gave the answer that sums up 47 years of this regime. He said the following, quote, "I'm skeptical about the way Iran operates. They always lie, always cheat, and always play for time." End quote. Anyone who follows this channel knows that this is the argument I've been hammering on for a long time, right, folks? For a long time. The regime turns talk into time and time into survival. They've done this with 7 American presidents. Hearing this from the Prime Minister himself on an American network in prime time, it carries a different weight. And that's an important detail too. He stated that he did not pressure Trump to strike Iran at the Tuesday meeting. The decision is the president's. No one tells Trump what to do, and Israel is doing exactly what it should be doing at this stage, letting the senior partner take center stage and quietly taking care of its own security. And do you know why Israel can afford this silence? My friends, the Defense Minister Israel Katz explained this week in an interview on Channel 14 here in Israel. He confirmed that American fighter jets and heavy aircraft are taking off from air bases inside Israel, folks, to strike Iran. And the Iranians know this. Look at what Katz said. Quote, "The fact is that right now, and this could change at any moment, the Iranians are shooting at everything in the region except one country, the state of Israel. They know that American planes are taking off from here. That doesn't mean we know what will happen tomorrow. It means we know what our response will be. I announced it, the Prime Minister announced it, and we made it absolutely clear. If Israel comes under fire, we will respond with all the force we have." End quote. In theory, this would put Israel, both in theory and in practice, in the regime's crosshairs. Do you agree with me? The planes that strike Iran take off from here. And yet Iran keeps firing at Jordan, fires at Kuwait, fires at the Gulf. Do you understand the situation here, Lefty? The fear these guys have? And why is that, folks? Because they know the price of the response. In military vocabulary, this is called deterrence, just so you understand. It's when the enemy doesn't shoot, not because they can't, but because they know how much it will cost them. There's also a detail that supports this interpretation. Between Monday and Tuesday, for those who remember, the Israeli army intercepted at least 4 drones near the border with Jordan. Do you remember that? According to a source from the Israeli press, they were probably launched by pro-Iran militias from Iraq. They didn't cross the Israeli border. They were intercepted long before that. They're testing from outside without crossing the line. And speaking of the way this regime operates, there's one more quick piece of news here that wraps up something we've been following for a while. The Iranian agency Tasnim, the spokesperson for the Revolutionary Guard, folks, it's the most important channel over there. It's the most important television channel over there. It lost its international account. It was suspended from the X network, formerly Twitter, which it used to communicate with the West in English. It lost it, it was banned, it's over. They deleted their account with millions of followers. You remember why, right? I already discussed it here. The video encouraging action against the American First Lady, mapping her routine and marking the target. A state news agency publicly teaching how to target the wife of a head of state. Today, the platform took Tasneem down. It's not enough, guys. It's not enough. It's not enough. But let the world see here what this regime did. They consider it journalism. And it's not just them, right? There are places in other parts of the world where this is considered journalism. And here, I'm going to give you my opinion without any beating around the bush. All Western social media platforms should delete all accounts of those who support this regime. Influencer accounts, government agencies, terrorist organizations. I don't understand how these guys are still able to keep their channels open, distorting information, creating dates that never existed, creating situations that never really happened, guys. All of them should be deleted. On this subject, I don't think there's any room to give a platform to both sides. Freedom of speech is for opinions, okay? It's not for propaganda for terrorist organizations like a lot of people are doing out there. Many influencers in Brazil are doing this. I'll be direct, guys. I'm talking about that influencer who uses inflated numbers with no sources because he can't read. He only reads Portuguese, maybe a little English. Arabic is far beyond him, and Persian even more so. He doesn't understand how people here think since he's never been here, except maybe as a tourist. And he spreads this around as if it were fact, just to make the regime look strong. He triples American or Israeli casualties. He makes up sunken ships and hides what the regime does to its own people. This isn't an opinion. This is a service provided to a dictatorship. And traditional media is also part of this. When a newspaper repeats the regime's numbers without checking, it lends its credibility to Tehran's propaganda machine. A headline without fact-checking isn't journalism. It's just a loudspeaker. In my opinion, anyone who does this should lose their account just like Tasneem did. And look, folks, this isn't just some utopian idea of mine. The law is already moving forward around the world, so influencers and you lefties watching the channel, pay close attention. In February, the European Union designated the Revolutionary Guard as a terrorist organization. On July 13th, the United Kingdom did the same under their new national security law. And based on that designation, Europol got involved. Do you know what Europol is? It's the European Union's police agency that coordinates the police forces of the countries in the bloc, okay? That's Europol. And it took down more than 14,200 accounts, posts, and links belonging to the Revolutionary Guard and to people who do the same thing, something that happens a lot in Brazil in an operation across 19 countries, including restrictions on their main account on X. I want to make this clear. The legal path exists, okay? What's missing is for the platforms to fully do their part until the end. Tasneem was taken down today, and in my opinion, it should have been the first of a long line, folks. Clear all those people off social media. Clean up. Keep this place clean, with quality content and truth above all. But propaganda is just one front of this regime. The other is the map that kept growing throughout the whole video. And this map is what brings me to the line I promised at the beginning. Today, a strong statement from the former National Security Council director under the first Trump administration, not the current one, circulated in the regional press. Pay close attention. I separated these two things. A man who sat in that room with Trump, look at what he said about this stage of the confrontation. Quote, Iran managed to change and expand the geographical boundaries of this war by hitting American bases. The United States does not have the capacity to deal simultaneously with all the components of the axis of resistance. This is the worst case scenario for us. End quote. End quote. And that's where it ended. Now I'm going to tell you what I think about all of this, even about his statement. Let's count the fronts that appear just in this video. The Gulf, with 12 locations hit in one night by the Americans. Jordan, with ballistic missiles intercepted this morning. Kuwait with a Chinese building hit and a worker killed. The Strait of Hormuz closed on both sides, both on the Iranian side and on the American side, with oil tankers forced to turn back. And now the Mediterranean as well, with an Egyptian gas port hit by a drone from who knows where. 5 fronts in a single video from a single day. The picture painted by the man in the decision room, this guy here, is this. The map grew and grew because Iran wanted it to. And now this conclusion is mine. And you can disagree too, that's no problem at all. Iran can't beat the United States at any point on the map. Fact. Proven fact. So the regime's strategy is to multiply the flashpoints on the map. And notice what all these points have in common. Gas tanker in Damietta, oil tanker in Hormuz, energy terminal, energy route, energy strait. The targets of this dispute are always oil and gas here in the Middle East. Interestingly, this is also happening on the Russia-Ukraine front. Refinery, port, terminal, pipeline, it's always the same family of targets. Hasn't anyone understood this yet? Isn't it sinking in, people? And that's why I've been telling you. The world is heading toward an unprecedented energy shortage, and almost no one is noticing this. Every cheap drone that hits a gas tanker, it takes away a piece of the global supply. That ship can't get back, it can't sail again so quickly, people. It takes time, and even if it manages to return, it can't enter the Strait of Hormuz, it can't go through the Red Sea. And now it can't dock at the port in Egypt either. When supply vanishes, like with this ship, prices rise at the pump, on electricity bills, and at the supermarket for everyone, even in Brazil. It may seem far, but it's not for the global economy. This probably won't end well, folks. While the Gulf is afraid and Europe prepares for a tough winter, there's only one player in this region who is coolly waiting for the right moment, folks. Do you know who it is? Israel. We're not chasing after this fight. Let's make that very clear here. We're prepared for it. As always, there's a huge difference between the two things. What should we watch for now, folks? Three things. The response that the Revolutionary Guard promised for today, if it comes. And most importantly, where? Where? Which country will they target? China's reaction to the building hit in Kuwait? Let's see, right? Any political signal from Beijing or even from Iran could change the game. Will they condemn Iran this time? We'll see. And the Mediterranean, if a second target appears on that side of the map, it's not just a message, it means it really became a front on this side of the map. So let me put the map up again. If any more targets are hit in this region here, folks, it's because this has officially become a new front. Officially. And to wrap up here, let me show you the American targets. Look at the little planes here, folks. There are hardly any planes now. They start to get more intense during the night. At night, this place is flooded with refueling planes. And let's finish here with a Hebrew word for today. Our word for today is ma'aluma, ma'aluma. All right, ma'aluma. I didn't have time to write it here, folks. Actually, I forgot to write it. Strike. Okay? That was the image the Israeli analysis used today to describe this exact moment. Both sides exchanging short strikes. Ma'alumot. Like two boxers studying each other. And in boxing, there's a rule that every coach teaches. The fight isn't won by whoever hits more at the beginning. Sometimes there's a knockout and the other guy, but not there. It's won by whoever manages their stamina until the last round. The next few days will be measured exactly by that word. Strikes, ma'alumot. If this video helped you understand the day, then share it. Send it to your family or work group. Send it to that friend who only reads the headlines, just the title, and doesn't understand anything at all. Send it to him too. Because here we put these pieces together one by one in a way that the mainstream media doesn't do for you. And I'm here following every move, every flight, every decision. And we'll be back later, folks. We'll be back later with more information straight from Israel. Let me just see who sent it. Thank you, Agenor Pinheiro. Thank you for the super sticker. This is just a really quick live, folks. With this resistance from Iran, it shows that they are strong. Yes, the one who's asking about the video? The video from Peter Hegseth. Peter Hegseth is the American Secretary of War, or Minister of Defense, as it used to be called. The video where he talks about the Third Temple is on my other channel. On the other channel. Davi Al-Maskani Cortez, that's the name of the other channel. Go there if you aren't subscribed to that channel, okay? If you aren't subscribed to the channel, let me put the channel here. Again, so you understand where this is, okay? Go to the channel and watch the video from Peter Hegseth. It's a really short video, guys. It's less than a minute. Less than a minute, this video. But it's worth it. And I have this other channel so I can post this kind of thing. It's also a backup channel, you know, in case this channel gets taken down for some reason we don't know, right? Or whatever the reason might be. So I ask you to join this other channel. Keep this information and share it. Because it's a slightly old video of his, but it shows exactly what he thinks about all this, guys. The video is right here. Look, let me put it on. This is the channel, okay? Davi Al-Maskani. That's how you spell it. Cortez. Subscribe to this channel. Go there and subscribe right now. No, don't leave it for later because you'll forget. Search for it. Type it here in the search bar above. Davi Al-Maskani Cortez. Okay? Go there and subscribe to the channel too. Later in today's live, I'll share 2 more important channels from people I follow. They make mini documentaries worth checking out. There's interesting content on those channels too. Let's quickly go back to the comments. Good morning, everyone. No one is noticing that China is overflowing with electric cars. The oil crisis is only going to benefit China. For me, China has a hand in these fronts of conflict. It would make sense, Jose, if the whole world didn't depend on oil in general. The car is the least of the problems in this whole story. The car, it's the least of the problems. It's practically at the end of the chain, okay? So, the world needs this energy. That energy, oil needs it. even to be able to supply, right? To put energy into the electric car itself. Anyway, we need energy. Energy is not just oil, it's everything that passes through and moves in that region, okay? It's coal, it's materials, it's insecticides, everything that comes out, supplies, everything that comes out of that region, gas. In the end, it will be used one way or another for energy and others so we can eat people, eat then. I think the car is the least of the problems. Thank you very much. Hugs from Bahrain. How are you, Marcio? How are you doing over there in Bahrain? Is it very hot, man? It's really hot. Has it already reached 50 degrees there? That temperature over there, right? That's it. And I think tomorrow here in Israel, it will be 47 degrees in the Tiberias region. Very hot. And I'm going to do it. Look, I promise you one thing here. I'm going to do it. I was never going to do this. I didn't intend to do this. But I started watching some videos that I shouldn't be watching, right? Honestly. From people there in Brazil, from people who claim to be experts on the situation in the Middle East, who have never lived here. They've never even visited here. There are those who spent 10 days here at most. They don't know the Hebrew language. They don't know the Arabic language. They don't know the nuances of either of these two languages. They hardly know English, yet they post a lot online. So I'll make clips confronting these guys from Brazil. I'll do it, just need some time. I've already seen some live streams here. I've already seen some podcasts from Brazil. It's so much nonsense, it's so much garbage. The stuff they say is such garbage, with no basis at all, about dates, even mistakes with dates. Number of presidents. They said there have been 10 Iranian presidents during the existence of the Iranian regime. We can't even count that. So I need to do some kind of reaction, right? Reaction. Confronting them directly is the only option. Yes, Salatiel, that's my cousin Rabbi Moshe. So that's it, my friends. Hugs to all the friends in Israel. For those who missed the beginning of this live stream, go back to the start of the live stream. Watch it from the beginning. That's the only way you'll leave here understanding everything. If you jumped in halfway, you won't understand. If you watched from the start, you'll get it. Set it to 1.5 speed and watch to the end. Janaina, thanks. This was my idea, but I don't have time to do these reactions. But these guys are just soaked in misinformation. It's a flood of misinformation. To say that the UN considers Hamas a resistance group, a resistance organization, there is no such document at the UN. It never existed and it never will, despite everything the UN does, right? For them, right? But it doesn't exist. The guy claims certain things with no basis at all, just made up in that crazy guy's head. Anyway, I'm going to do a reaction. I thought a lot about how to do this so I wouldn't have any legal problems later. Anyway, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. Hugs to all my friends in Israel. And see you at the next live stream. For everyone in Europe as well, hugs to everyone in Brazil. To everyone around the world, hugs and see you then.